welcome to the Daily Brown Bag. Today we're going to be talking about some interesting new stats on social sharing behavior. I'm Chad Hill and I'm joined by Adam Stetzer.
Hey, good afternoon, Chad. Welcome to the Brown Bag. We've been talking about social for years, Chad, and there's lots of data, and every year there seems like there's even more data, and we're trying to get our arms around, of course, how people use social media and how marketers in our SEO reseller community can harness this knowledge and consult with their clients. So we've got a lot of data here to try to plow through today, Chad, try to make some sense of this. We're covering a Pew Research Institute study with a whole lot of new stats that I think are pretty interesting. First opener here is 73% of adults in the U.S. use social networking sites. So penetration, as we've been covering for years, growing, and even bigger. Facebook, no surprise, is still the dominant player here with 71% of online adults using Facebook, which is really just astounding if you think about it. But 42% of adults, Chad, are now using multiple sites. They go to multiple social networking sites on a regular basis, which is also pretty astounding because things are not simplifying, they're getting even more complex. So this study is really interesting, and some other folks are chiming in with data as well. Share This has just put out a quarterly look, and they're looking at all sorts of interesting things, including the spikes and trends of usage around different events. I know we were reviewing this right before the Brown Bag here, but they studied 9 of the most notable events from July to September. This includes the ISIS conflict flare-up in the Middle East, Ferguson, Burning Man, the iPhone 6 launch, Shark Week, NFL, others, the earthquake in Napa, and they're just trying to understand where people go and when and what topics they like to discuss. The conclusion seems to be Facebook is still where people want to concentrate their time in general. 71% of sharing happens on Facebook. The number 2 is Twitter with 21%, and Reddit's pulling up as number 3rd with 6%. But those trends don't always hold 100% consistent, and it seems, Chad, that each social channel lends itself to different topics and different areas of interest. You know, we see that breaking news is consistently on the Twitter side versus deeper conversations continue to happen and persist longer on Facebook. And then this data gets even more interesting when you start to dive into, we don't have time for all the details, but mobile versus desktop. Certain conversations like to happen there. News and politics, for example, happen more on the desktop. So what do we make of all this, and how can we sort this out and give them some takeaways?
Well, I think, unfortunately, it means that you really can't use a set it and forget it type of approach, which is what I think a lot of, especially small businesses, are hoping for, is that there's some formula that they can just follow and it works. But I think what you're reporting is that that doesn't really exist. There's lots of nuances here about hours of the day, what kind of activity it is, and so really we're sort of confronted here as small business owners in our case, and as many of our clients' case, of what do we do. So I think that the main thing is we have to figure out where our audience really is, and we have to figure out how we can participate in that audience. You can't be all things to all people. If your audience tends to be more of a Facebook sharing, I think you shared some good stats on where a lot of that initial behavior happens, then maybe you need to really focus in on your Facebook strategy, and you're gonna may take away time from Twitter or Google Plus or Pinterest or one of the other guys. But if you're a very visual product, maybe Pinterest is the place you need to be. I think really what it means is you just need to, again, figure out the audience, where they are, and stick to that. The other thing is, I think, don't ignore the idea that there are these mobile and second screen opportunities, meaning that if people are watching the television and they're tweeting along, maybe there's opportunities and ways for you to participate in that phenomena, that people now are actually having a more interactive viewing experience. Is there a way your brand or business can tag along with what's happening on some cooking show if you're a local restaurant, or if you're a local grocery store or something? So anyway, there's a lot of interesting ideas. And unfortunately, as you said, Adam, and it's only getting more complex. We've got to continue to search for the answers here and to boil it down. But I think our advice today is focus where your audience is, and don't use the set it and forget it strategy.
And I think, Chad, for our SEO reseller community, this is potentially good news. It means the role for the digital marketing consultant is even more important as this gets more complex and there's more layers to the data. I guess there's two sides of the coin. Those resellers need to learn and understand these dynamics so they can be a good consultant during the sales process and telling them where they should be putting their money and their emphasis, but it means that they can really have a trusted advisor role. So perhaps an opportunity for us to get more in depth on some of these things and do some more training for those watching these videos. But we appreciate you joining us today. We always want your comments, and we always beg for your subscription. We'll see you tomorrow.